Every single expense, from the roof over your head to the food on your table, costs exponentially more in New York. We're not talking minor differences here. We're talking life-changing gaps that keep families trapped in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. One state lets you build an empire. The other keeps you broke forever. North Carolina is quietly offering the actual American dream at the fraction of the cost. Alright, let's start with the elephant in the room. The median home price in New York City is $806,834 for an average home. Not a mansion, not a penthouse. A median, middle-of-the-road, average home. Meanwhile, over in Charlotte, North Carolina, the same median home costs $395,529. Okay, so let's do the math here. You could literally buy 2 entire houses in North Carolina and still have enough to go on a European vacation or buy a used car. And if you're renting, oh boy. The average rent in New York City is $3,596 per month. In Charlotte, North Carolina, that's $1,973 per month. Let's do the yearly math, because this is where it gets absolutely insane. New York renters are shelling out about $43,152 annually just for rent, just to have a roof over their heads. North Carolina renters pay around $23,676. That's a $19,476 difference every single year. That's a life-changing amount of money just evaporating into rent payments. But owning or renting that overpriced place is honestly just where the financial pain begins. Because once you've got those keys to your tiny apartment, the bills start flooding in. The typical energy bill in New York runs about $239.75 per month. In North Carolina, it's $210.51. Okay, that's not a massive difference there, I'll admit. But add in everything else and watch what happens. Your phone bill in New York averages $225.99 per month. In North Carolina, it's $198.42. Water, internet, cable, all of it adds up. And when you add it all together, New Yorkers are paying about $410 per month total for utilities. North Carolinians pay around $328. That's $82 more per month, or about $984 per year. Now, it's not housing level insane, but it's still a really nice vacation. You're just completely flushing down the drain every single year. But utilities are nothing compared to what the government is planning to take from you. And trust me, New York's got its hand deep in your pocket. New York has a progressive income tax that maxes out at 10.90%, nearly 11% of your hard-earned income, just gone, vanished, before you even touch it. And that's before federal taxes even get their hands on your paycheck. North Carolina, a flat 4.25%. That's it. Let's put that in real perspective with actual numbers. If you're making $100,000 a year in New York, which sounds like a lot until you see these costs, you're paying around $6,500 in state income taxes. In North Carolina, you're paying $4,250. That's over $2,000 more every single year, just because you decided to live in the wrong state. And if you're making serious money, like 6 figures or more, the gap gets real. Property taxes are interesting too, and by interesting, I mean depressing. New York's effective rate is 1.64%, which is nearly double the national average. In North Carolina, the effective rate is 0.73%, which is well below the national average. So, North Carolina wins on income taxes by an absolute landslide. And even though the gap looks smaller when you just glance at the percentages, when you factor in those home values, New York is literally bleeding you dry from every possible angle. Now let's talk about feeding yourself. And who would have guessed? Food also costs more in New York. Grocery prices in New York are 18% higher than the national average. In North Carolina, they're only 1% higher, basically at the national average. A gallon of milk in New York costs $5.54. In Charlotte, it's $4.75. Not a huge difference, but it adds up. A loaf of bread, $4.65 in New York versus $3.99 in North Carolina. Even a bunch of bananas costs more, which is kind of hilarious when you think about it. A basic meal at a restaurant in New York will run you 30 to 50% more than in North Carolina. Sometimes even more than that. Over a year, if you eat out even twice a week, which honestly isn't that much, that's literally thousands and thousands of dollars in difference. We're talking $5,000 to $7,000 more per year, just because you didn't want to cook at home in New York. Okay, so you've paid for your overpriced apartment, your inflated utility bills, your massive tax burden, and now your expensive groceries. How are you going to get around? Well, buckle up, because transportation is where things get really interesting. Because New York has one major advantage here, and it might be the only advantage we talk about today. you might not even need a car. Gas in New York averages at $3.81 per gallon. In North Carolina, it's $3.07. That's about 24% higher, which is significant. If you drive 12,000 miles a year in a car getting 25 miles per gallon, that's 480 gallons annually. In New York, that's $1,829 per year. In North Carolina, it's $1,474, a $355 difference just on gas. But here's the thing, tons of New Yorkers don't even own cars. They rely on the subway instead. An unlimited monthly Metro card costs about $132. That's $1,584 per year. On paper, that sounds way cheaper than gas, right? Except you still need to pay for an Uber when it's raining, or late at night, or when you want to literally go anywhere outside in Manhattan. You need car rentals for weekend trips. You need to factor in all the hidden costs of not having a car when you actually really need one. And trust me, those costs add up fast. Meanwhile, in North Carolina, most people need a car. It's not optional. Public transit isn't really a thing outside the major cities. But here's the thing. Car insurance is significantly cheaper in North Carolina, and you're not dealing with alternate side parking nightmares or paying $500 per month just for a parking spot in a garage. So transportation costs in both states are high, just in completely different ways. In New York, you pay for convenience and public transit. In North Carolina, you pay for gas and car ownership. Pick your poison, I guess. Now, all these costs we've talked about so far, they're tough, they're expensive, but at least you can kind of plan for them, right? There's one cost that can absolutely devastate your finances if you're not prepared, and unfortunately, it's not optional. Let's talk about healthcare, because apparently, that also costs wildly different amounts depending on your zip code, which is kind of terrifying when you think about it. Healthcare in New York is 44% higher than the national average. In North Carolina, it's right at the national average. Normal. What you'd expect to pay pretty much anywhere in America. A doctor's visit in New York costs about $210. In Charlotte, it's $145. Dentist? $171.42 in New York versus $118.35 in North Carolina. So even getting your teeth cleaned costs way more. And this one kind of broke my heart. Even your vet charges more in New York. $88.96 per visit versus $76.50 in North Carolina. So even your dog pays the New York tax. Over a year, with regular checkups, dental cleanings, maybe a few sick visits for you or the kids, prescriptions, all of it, New York's healthcare premium adds up incredibly fast. And that's assuming you don't have any major medical issues. God forbid if you do, the gap gets even worse. If you're finding this breakdown super helpful and want more deep dives into cost of living across America, do me a massive favor. Hit that subscribe button down below and turn on those notifications. Seriously, we're exposing the real, actual numbers behind where you choose to live, and I don't want you to miss any of it. Plus, your support really means the world to me and helps me keep making these videos. Okay, let's get back to the showdown. Now, everything we've covered so far, all these expenses, they affect everyone. But if you have kids, this next section is going to make you want to cry, because childcare in New York is brutally insane. An infant classroom runs about $1,872 per month per child. That's $22,464 per year. That's more than some people's entire salary just for someone to watch your baby while you work. In North Carolina, infant care is $1,155 per month, which is still a lot, don't get me wrong. That's $717 less per month, or $8,604 per year per kid. So let's say you have a family with 2 young kids in daycare. That's easily $15,000 to $20,000 more per year in childcare costs in New York. That's literally an entire person's salary. That's a down payment on a house every single year. Alright, let's add it all up. Because looking at individual numbers is one thing, but the full picture is legitimately insane. According to official government data, the average cost of living in New York is $58,571 per person per year. In North Carolina, it's $51,081. That's $7,490 more per year per person just to live in New York. Now think about that for a family of 4. That's nearly $30,000 per year in extra costs just to live in New York instead of North Carolina. But wait, because there's more, and it gets worse. Because those are just averages for the entire state of New York. If you're actually living in New York City specifically, not just somewhere upstate, those numbers absolutely skyrocket. New York's cost of living is 132% higher than the national average. North Carolina's is 1% lower than the national average. That means New York is 133% more expensive than North Carolina overall. That's a completely different financial reality. So, after drowning in all these numbers, which state actually wins? Where should you live? Financially speaking, North Carolina destroys New York. It's not even close. You'll save tens of thousands yearly, maybe hundreds of thousands over a lifetime. You'll own a real home instead of renting a shoebox forever. You'll build actual wealth instead of just surviving. But here's what New York offers that North Carolina can't: opportunity. Career opportunities in finance, tech, media, fashion, and entertainment that literally don't exist anywhere else. The salary ceiling is higher. The networking is unmatched. The energy is irreplaceable. Is it worth it? That's not a financial question. That's a life question only you can answer. So which team are you on, honestly? New York or North Carolina? Drop your answer down in the comments, especially if you've lived in both states. And if this breakdown actually opened your eyes to how much your location truly matters to your finances and your life, hit that subscribe button and bell icon down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.